Jesus more.
As I was reflecting on the gospel of today, I remembered one story that happened, and this is a similar story that happens in many parts of Africa. But this particular one was in Kenya, and we were going for this funeral. And we are all traveling for a very long time. I was carrying a nun plus some women of the Catholic Women Association. And we are all in the car, and we were chatting and talking about different things and laughing, and it was all like, there was nothing wrong, and we were all really on this journey together. And then the moment we arrived, the women just suddenly started wailing. And I was so shocked, what has happened? And they came out of the car and they were all wailing and crying and shouting and screaming. And I was just thinking, are these the same women I came with, or what happened? And somehow it's really like a cultural thing that, when they go for a funeral, they have to show sympathy by really wailing and crying and shouting and screaming. And that does not last for a long time. They come out and they do all the screaming, and then after about 3 minutes, everything goes back again to normal, and then they start chatting again, and you can find some drinking even beer and eating a lot of food. And it's like, are these the same women I was traveling with? And then suddenly they started wailing and crying, and then suddenly they have all gone back to their original mood again. And a similar thing also happens back at home in my country. And I noticed this when my mother died, and the body was still in the mortuary. And then on the day of the funeral, in the morning, there is always this first gun that they would shoot. A gun, they would fire something. And at that time, when they shot that gun, then all the women in my family, all my extended family, once they shoot that gun, once they hear that gunshot, all of them, they come from wherever they are, if they were cooking. And at that moment, I was sitting with some of them, and they fired this gun, and then they just started out of nowhere to wail and to cry and to scream. And then they are all coming together, and then they start screaming as if it's the first time they heard that my mother had died. So I was really taken aback by that, because that was the first time I ever saw that. And they came together, and then after, it lasts just about 3 minutes, and then they go back again to the default mode. It's like nothing had happened, and then they go back again cooking, and then they are laughing again. And you see, when they are doing that, they are also looking around to see who is not crying, and who is not wailing, and who is not shouting or screaming, or who is screaming better than the other one. And at times, later on, they would come to say, no, this one, you see, when we were even screaming, that lady was not doing anything. She was not really crying. She was not really showing And now, even in some parts of Africa, they would hire professional mourners. Like for a funeral, they could hire people who would wail and cry very well and make the funeral look really, really moody. And they will hire these people who are very good at crying, because maybe in Africa, we don't have the gift of crying like here in the Philippines, But there are also people, when you go to a funeral, you would find them at the corner. They isolate everybody, they leave everybody. They go to the corner of the house alone. Most of the time they don't wail. Most of the time they don't shout, they don't scream. But you just find them the tears flowing down their eyes. Those are the very people that you would say they really know what they are doing. They know they have a great relationship with the deceased. And you find some of those people, they don't make any noise, During the funeral, people are there screaming. Others will say, I'm going to die with this. But they hide themselves and they really cry. Those are the people that are really mourning. I remember one funeral, and then there was this lady who came, and then she said, no, leave me, I want to die with this person. They are putting the body in the grave. I will die, and people are holding this lady. And then at some points, people got tired also, and then they said, oh, let's leave her, let her jump into it. But then she stood there looking at everybody, really embarrassed because everybody left her. and she didn't dive into it. There are a lot of things that happen like that, but you would find those people who are at the corner of the house. They will not wail. You find tears flowing down their eyes. They are really feeling the pain of everything. They leave every distraction and they find some time by themselves to think about what is happening to them. The apostles of John come to Jesus and they say, look at what we do. We are wailing, we are crying, we are fasting, and you do nothing. They are complaining about it. And this is what Jesus talks about 2 days ago when we celebrated, when we had Ash Wednesday from Matthew's Gospel chapter 6. When you want to fast, it doesn't have to be known by everybody. We don't have to scream and make noise about it. No, we go to the corner of the house and think of the reason why we have to fast. We go to the corner of the house and realize how much we have separated ourselves from God by our sinfulness. It's not just fasting to go around and say, okay, today is a day of fasting, we are not going to eat meat, and then start pointing at people. No, you are roasting barbecue. Today we have Stations of the Cross. We pass around the places where there are barbecues that are being roasted, and then we don't just stop and say, no, you people are doing the wrong thing. We should be moving around with us. You should be fasting and all that. No, we have to think about why we are fasting. The first reason why we fast is because of separation. And then secondly, because we are mourning. Separation, why? Because our sins have separated us from God. That is why we sit at the corner of the house and say, what is it at this moment that I have to reconcile with God, especially this period of Lent? What is it in my life that has become an obstacle to my relationship with God? Can I say I'm going to fast for that reason? And then another thing, maybe we are mourning. There are many things that are going wrong in our families, many things that are going wrong in life. I have a lot of my friends who at the moment are very sick. I'm thinking about them, they are going through a lot of pain. And then you say, I want to fast for these people. I want to pray for these people. I want to spend some time by myself, think about these people, the pain that they are going through. And then I say, I'm not going to eat today. I'm not going to, because of their suffering, because of whatever thing we are going through, we are not going to watch football today. We are not going to entertain ourselves with things from YouTube or things from Facebook and things like that. That is true fasting. It is like that person who is truly mourning. He's not just showing off. He's not just fulfilling some tradition or some culture that we have to mourn, or to say that we have to fulfill this thing that the church has said that on Fridays we should not eat meat. No, it is deeper than that. And because we have separated ourselves from God by our sinfulness. And that is why once he said to the disciples of John, they cannot fast while the bridegroom is with them, because Jesus is present with them. But once Jesus is separated from them, it will be time to fast. In other words, when we separate ourselves from God by our sinfulness, then we have to fast. And that is why after Good Friday, then we have Easter Saturday. Why do we not fast on Easter Saturday or Easter Sunday? Because now Christ is now reunited with us. He is risen. He is alive. He is one with us. And therefore, fasting is transformed into feasting. And so, my dear friends, let us remember that, our sins have separated us from God. Our deeds, everything that we've done that has become that we are so used to that has become an obstacle to God, to our relationship with God, has become that thing that has separated us from God. And that is the reason we have to fast. But also to fast in prayer for those who are going through a lot of difficulties, for the things that we want God to do for us. We go into fasting, we go to that quiet corner where nobody is going to notice what we are doing, and to cry to God from the depths of our hearts. But while we do that, we must be generous to those who are in need. We must help the hungry, we must feed the hungry, we must give drink to those who are thirsty, we must clothe the naked, like Isaiah says in the first reading. So we continue to ask God for the grace to be able to receive all that God has prepared for us, especially in this season of Lent.
Kiss us, mother, kiss your children. Bring God's blessings from above. With your mantle blue enfold us in your gentle holy love. See the darkness dissipating, hear the trumpet echoing, Satan's rage